Hello and welcome to NASCOM Foundation presents Tech for Good, powered by CGI and brought to you by CNBC TV18. I'm Lata Chauhan. Today, in the third virtual event of the Tech for Good series, we look at the role of technology as an enabler for positive social change, especially for the underprivileged, the need for accelerating technology adoption to overcome socioeconomic divides, and the roadmap for transforming entire economies, societies, and nations by leveraging the power of technology efficiently, effectively, and sustainably. Over the course of the next 1 hour or so, multiple stakeholders will get together to share ideas on all these aspects and more. So on behalf of CNBC TV18 and NASCOM Foundation, I welcome you all to this Tech for Good e-series that aims to promote responsible business practices across the ecosystem. I would like to kick off this event with Mr. Amitabh Kant, CEO Niti Aayog, to please deliver the keynote address. Over to you, Mr. Kant.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm absolutely delighted to speak here at NASCOM's Foundation's Tech for Good 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, technology has been developing at an unprecedented rate and its impact on society has been profound. While the use and application of technology is enormous, it has been a game changer in terms of increasing efficiency, transparency, and delivering impact on ground. In many ways, technology is revolutionizing government service delivery. Frontier technologies such as AI, blockchain, IoT, etc., are being used to address legacy challenges. Technology is also facilitating unprecedented innovation in the government space. Leveraging this, India is already leapfrogging into the future. Niti Aayog had come out with the National Strategy on Artificial Intelligence in the summer of 2018. I'm proud to say that we were one of the first countries to advocate the use of artificial intelligence to address inclusion and social empowerment challenges. Last year, the Honorable Prime Minister inaugurated the Global Virtual Summit on Artificial Intelligence called Responsible AI for Social Empowerment. RAISE 2020 to chart a course for using AI for social transformation, inclusion and empowerment in areas such as healthcare, agriculture, education and smart mobility. RAISE brought together global AI leaders to develop national AI capabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, through the India Stack and especially the Aadhaar identification system, India has transformed digital identities and established a robust framework that integrates government services across the spectrum. It is one of the largest efforts of its kind in the world and has won enormous global praise. Almost every person in India has an Aadhaar number which can be digitally authenticated. This has been a game changer in the area of financial inclusion. With the linkage of Aadhaar with bank accounts and mobile phones, referred to as Jam Trinity, it has allowed us to roll out programs such as the Jan Dhan Yojana, through which we are pushing the envelope of financial inclusion. Technology used in the public distribution system is the key for implementation of One Nation, One Ration Card, an initiative which will offer great flexibility to citizens while reducing systematic leakages. The direct benefit transfers that JAM has enabled has become a new mechanism for the delivery of public good. DBT has been a lifeline for service delivery, more so during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, we've done a huge number of transfers to people during this period, and it has led to huge amount of cumulative savings to the tune of close to 1.8 lakh crores through the deletion of duplicate, fake and non-existent beneficiaries. The Unified Payment Interface platform has made digital banking accessible for the people of India. The UPI payment infrastructure is just 4 years old, and yet it has exceeded more than double the number of transactions as compared to that of American Express globally. UPI has witnessed huge growth over a relatively short period of time. The platform has tremendously grown and its volume has grown to close to about 2.3 billion transactions in January 21. The transaction value has jumped to almost 4.31 trillion. The GST has been a huge digitization exercise where it has done away with 17 taxes and cesses and helped reduce the queues at the state boundaries, streamlining interstate logistics. Similarly, the government e-marketplace, another critical initiative, has been the government GEM portal, which has successfully been able to leverage technology to completely transform the public procurement landscape. And look at the new PMJAY scheme, which covers 500 million Indians, is totally paperless, cashless, and digital. It would enable anyone living in Bihar to move to Kerala or Tamil Nadu and carry its health insurance scheme with him. It's the biggest digital health scheme in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, technologies such as AI and blockchain offer several advantages for India's developmental challenges around healthcare, agriculture, education, transport. And in all these areas, look at healthcare. In India, where we face the stress of low doctor-patient ratio, this is a major problem, especially in rural areas. AI is being used to augment the capabilities of our medical staff and make healthcare accessible and affordable at all levels. We have seen a lot of development here and must keep up the efforts in realizing universal health coverage. Blockchain has great potential in helping us manage and track medical records and can also be used to create traceability and helping prove the provenance of drugs in the pharmaceutical supply chain. The Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, as I mentioned, was the world's largest government-supported health assurance scheme, is using machine learning and neural networks to detect and report insurance frauds, helping redirect government funds to those who need it the most. The National Digital Health Mission is working on developing the digital health infrastructure of the country. It'll make healthcare efficient, accessible, inclusive, affordable, and safe. This initiative will boost AI application in healthcare. AI is powering advanced screening of diseases like TB, cancer, and diabetic retinopathy. Recent advances in computing and hardware enable AI-powered insights in checkup camps in remote locations, even without access to connectivity. In agriculture, technology is helping farmers around the country in managing soil and crop health efficiently. With an increasingly open agriculture market in India, AI can help farmers in understanding and analyzing market demand and assist in making decisions on crops and sowing cycles. Data remotely sensed through satellites is completely transforming our understanding of agriculture and is helping us build models and understanding of weather and environmental systems. Ladies and gentlemen, multiple AI applications by our startups are providing information on demand to our farmers. The technology can also be very valuable in connecting the farmers to the right consumers based on demand, shelf life, available logistics, and other factors in real time anywhere in the country. As laid out in the National Education Policy, AI will play a pivotal role in augmenting education across the country. AI has the ability to deliver high quality learning materials suitable to a child's proficiency levels and learning style in their language. Combined with technologies like virtual reality, AI can be used to provide customized practical lab environments and experiences at a low cost. The development and use of technology should be done in a responsible manner. As a follow-up to the national strategy, we have released the principles of responsible use of AI and have also proposed mechanism for enforcement. This exercise presents a framework which can also help inform and guide the development of AI. It takes into account all the aspects and nuances of AI linked to privacy, security, ethics, etc. However, the government cannot do everything alone. We need everyone in the ecosystem to come together. People, civil society, academia, industry. Together we can solve these problems. At the end of the technology in itself is not the end goal, but the goal is to make a difference in people's lives. People-centric frameworks for technology adoption and application will be the cornerstone of India's approach going forward. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kant, for those valuable insights. Up next, we are unveiling India's first ever Tech for Good report by NASSCOM Foundation in partnership with CGI. So that's the Tech for Good report launch video by NASSCOM Foundation and CGI. You can download it from www.techforgood.in. Now I would like to invite our second keynote speaker, George Matakar, President, Asia Pacific, Global Delivery Centers of Excellence, CGI, to set the context for today's event by sharing his thoughts on using technology for social good. Over to you, George.
Thank you, Lata. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with you today to set the context for this very important session of the NASSCOM Foundation Tech for Good e-series powered by CGI. The goal of this session is to prompt reflection, discussion, and action on ensuring that technology transforms life for the better, just as Sri Amitabh Kant just shared with us. And it's very encouraging to see that so many of our tech firms in the country, startups, social enterprises, and NGOs are working together on solutions to address the major social challenges of our time. As technology plays an increasingly larger part in our lives and our society battles an increasing digital divide, we have a duty to take concrete actions to make a difference. 2020 was indeed an unexpected, unusual, and challenging year. However, it has provided us opportunities to accelerate social change through technology. The session today will attempt to lay out a roadmap of how technology can act as a catalyst for change in our society. It will also showcase for us the best practices adopted by companies to create and foster social innovation and highlight the skills required for a better future for our country and its citizens. We will also celebrate the collaboration among businesses, civil society, government, and the people at large to come out resurgent in the face of one of the most testing challenges of our times. This event will highlight several success stories, which I hope will be motivation to create even more successes in the future. Let me just say a few words about CGI, the company that I represent and whose 15,000 employees in India I am privileged to lead. We at CGI are proud of our involvement in driving tech for good. Our commitment to corporate social responsibility is embedded in our core values and in our strategic goal to be recognized by our communities as a caring and responsible corporate citizen. To help build a more inclusive, collaborative, and sustainable world, CGI focuses on three pillars in the area of our corporate social responsibility. And these include, number one, people. We inspire and educate diverse and underrepresented groups across all walks of life to embrace IT careers. Secondly, communities. We use our skills and resources to support local communities where we live and work to make a positive difference. And finally, climate, where we are committed to achieving net zero carbon emissions by the year 2030 through responsible operating practices and by delivering sustainable client solutions. Through our Dream Connectors program, we provide opportunities for our employees, whom we call members, to collaborate and innovate to benefit our local communities by leveraging technology. In 2020, CGI professionals invested more than 23,000 hours as part of our Dream Connectors program, including more than 100 initiatives to help communities respond to the pandemic. These and many other Tech for Good initiatives are highlighted in CGI's recently released annual CSR report, which is available on our website at cgi.com. Specific projects relevant to India that we've done in the Tech for Good space over the last year include nurturing 4 social startups focused on Tech for Good in addressing social challenges in India, partnering with the Government of India and Niti Aayog to promote technology and innovation by adopting 100 schools to drive STEM education, and ensuring that students continue to have access to virtual education and schools by donating laptops to the underserved students in remote locations throughout the country. We at CGI are committed to continuing our partnership with NASSCOM Foundation and our other partners in moving forward the agenda of positive social change through the leveraging of technology. Now, technology has become the fuel that kindles hope and drives inclusive growth for a better, more sustainable future. With this in mind, as part of this event, NASSCOM Foundation and CGI, as you just saw in the video, are very happy to present to you India's first Tech for Good report. This report highlights what the tech industry is doing to create social welfare solutions, leveraging best practices and involving the best minds while ensuring that budgets are maintained and sustainable development goals are met. This report also reflects on how COVID-19 impacted these different sectors and how they responded and rebounded. Further, to recognize and encourage entities doing impactful work in the space, stay tuned for an announcement at the end of this program about the 2nd edition of the Tech for Good Awards. Tech for Good is at its core all about connections and networks between the tech sector, civil society, and communities. The whole is always greater than the sum of the parts, and together we achieve much more than we could individually. Collaboration is the key to amplifying our impact. Events like this one today are so important in forging such connections, building networks, and in encouraging the exchange of ideas. Tech for Good pioneers like those in this session will not only make technology better, they will make India and the world better. Let us keep innovating and creating and forging a better future for us all. And in closing, I'm happy to present to you a short video on CGI's activities in corporate social responsibility. Thank you and have a great session.
Hold it. Thank you.
Hope. We all need it.
We all need it.
To grow. To make progress. And to dream. Be a Hope Samaritan. Bring value to the communities where we live and work. Participate in the CGI CSR initiatives.
Thank you very much, George, for your encouraging words and deep insights. And now it's time to decode some of the highlights of the report we just launched and have a panel of experts share ideas and insights on technology for social good in this decade, accelerating technology innovation and adoption for social good. So let me first welcome the panelists for the report launch. Rebecca Messasak, CEO, TechSoup; Shraddha Sharma, Founder and Chief Editor, Your Story; Rahul Panikar, Chief Research and Innovation Officer, Vadhani AI; and Sudhir Subbaraman, Senior Vice President, Business Unit Head, CGI. Let me also welcome the session moderator, Mridu Bhandari, Editor, Special Projects at Network 18. All right, so we'll try and keep the conversation as interactive as possible. So please post your questions and in the comments section, and we will try to take up as many as time permits. With that, I'll hand it over to the session moderator, Mridu Bhandari.
Thank you very much, Lata, and welcome everyone. Well, if we are to look at the silver linings of COVID-19, the most significant one perhaps has been the acceleration of digital technology adoption. In fact, it is estimated that the world on an average leapfrogged by at least 3 to 4 years in terms of tech adoption in the last 1 year alone. Critical sectors like healthcare, like financial services, like governance, like education, in fact, have all seen something of a soft reset, if we may call it so, in 2020, opening up access and opportunities for the underprivileged like never before. Industry on its part has been very quick to build social innovation models that now need to be scaled up, models that need to penetrate deeper into far-flung areas of India, and of course, that need to be sustainable in the long run. So needless to say that technology is going to be the key enabler of all of these facets. And this is in fact the beginning of a very exciting decade that's going to be technology driven. So we are in fact calling it a techade instead. And I'm joined here by a very eminent panel today to build that roadmap for using technology for social good in the upcoming decade. Thank you everyone for joining us here. This past year has given us a glimpse of all that's possible, all the good that is possible by using technology. So Rebecca, let me come to you first. TechSoup is the world's largest software donor to NGOs. Today, you connect over 1 million social enterprises in about 200 countries to digital tools. Share with us some key learnings, some examples of innovations in critical areas that you've seen and you've been able to mount, especially for the bottom of the pyramid in an emerging country like India.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to bring a global nonprofit network perspective to the promise of technology across the next decade. TechSoup is a nonprofit, and it's a network of 64 organizations that partner together with more than 100 corporations and more than 400 foundations. And we focus on connecting civil society organizations of all kinds to resources and digital capacity in particular. NASCOM Foundation is part of our network and has reached 18,000 organizations, about 7,000 of them with technology tools and services that are valued at around 26 million. And has connected through some of our programs together US-based foundations to funding NGOs in India and other Southeast Asian areas. It's really a network that serves, for the most part, smaller organizations of 1 to 5 people. And those are not necessarily household named organizations, but they're deeply engaged with their local communities. So to come to the question of innovation at that level and share some examples and thoughts, I want to say that there's awfully a lot of innovation in India, for sure, by social entrepreneurs and civil society organizations, a lot of them doing very interesting things with emerging technologies like AI and distributed ledger and things like this. I wanted to mention too an AI open innovation platform, Amdena, that I've seen that also is engaging NGOs with other experts. And these are very exciting opportunities. But a lot of time that the kinds of nonprofits that we work with are really smaller grassroots organizations, and they work on these very pressing social issues, but at very local levels with marginalized communities. And for them, innovation may be some very simple technologies like collaboration software or something that helps them communicate with stakeholders better, and also things that help them get skills for their staff, so that they can adopt and use technology. One Indian example that I pulled up here is Annapurna Trust in Karnataka. And they're using a multi-stakeholder approach to scale programs locally that are around nutritious meals and a healthy environment for children and health screenings. And they access the digital skills training that we have available on TechSoup courses. And TechSoup courses are contextualized, especially for nonprofit learners. So they are focused on digital skills and capacity, but particularly for application in a nonprofit environment. And that org also was able to leverage the connection by doing that on a platform like TechSoup to connect to the Benevity Giving platform. And they're a company that powers about 1,000 corporations around the world to engage their employees in giving time and also dollars or money, whatever the local currency is. So that's a way that we can build resources and capacity around those smaller organizations. Another interesting Indian example is an innovator called Video Wiki Foundation in Bengaluru. And they have a mission to create internet content that is in local languages specifically, and they leveraged machine learning and noise cancellation tech and crowdsourcing of voice translations to what they say is make a 10 times reduction in the video translation costs and enable nonprofits to really build out this multilingual kind of video content in a sustainable way.
Fascinating to hear those examples, Rebecca, of how TechSoup is really enabling local enterprises in India. Sudhir, let me come to you. Many a time we tend to think that technology is really the solution to every problem. But when it comes to solving socio-economic challenges, how different should our approach be with respect to looking at technology versus when you're trying to solve a business problem?
Thank you, Mridu, and it's an honor to be here today. So when a corporate looks at as a business problem, Mridu, we kind of look at it in two parts. One is sort of what we call the functional requirements. There's a problem, there's a solution, there's a finite answer to it. And then we also have what's called as the non-functional requirements. This is in terms of scale, hardware, usability, and things like that, right? But when it comes down to social sector problems, this is often referred to as what is called as wicked problems. And not much time today, but I would definitely have folks take a look at it. And it's like peeling multiple layers of onion. And in that context, when we sort of look at social sector problems and a solution or technology for it, in addition to the functional requirements, which is you have a problem and you have a solution of technology, and you also look at hardware scale and things like that. If the entities or the corporates or anybody does not address other aspects of wicked problems, such as social adoption, acceptability from a society perspective, from a panchayat perspective, administrative use from a government perspective, what typically happens is it looks really fancy. It's like first layer of the onion. It looks really great from a technology solution, but it has a very, very short shelf life, right? And it either stops in the context of people don't know how to use it, or there's not enough investment to carry those sort of solutions forward. And just to sort of prove that point of what a wicked problem is, if we just think about the vaccination drive in India, right? Clearly the functional requirement is there's a virus and you have vaccination that sort of tackles it, right? And then from a non-functional, you got to think about as a company, think about scale and so on. But now, if you think about it, we have challenges in the context of a wicked problem to where how do you sort of scale up the hospitals? How do you train people? And you got that sorted out. And then you have now the challenge of, well, people are afraid to take vaccines, right? And there's a lot of social resistance in that. And then I'm pretty sure the corporates were not ready for a government subsidy of a huge nature that they were looking to make profits and so on, right? So these sort of layer up and so on. So if we're looking at social sector problems, you have to be thinking from a wicked problem perspective that's multiple layers. It is not just what appears on the surface, and the best solutions are ones that looks into all of them as much as possible, and you try to address them over a period of time. So that's very, very different than your typical corporate business sector problems, Mridu.
Right, absolutely. Well, okay, so let me also bring in Shraddha Sharma from your story. Shraddha, this past year has been a trying one for many, but also a blessing in disguise of sorts when it comes to digital-led businesses. And I was reading one letter that you recently wrote to your readers, as well as startups and innovators of the country, and you said, "Come what may, don't leave the playground." But tell us, what does it really take to stay in the playground for over 13 years? You've been enabling social entrepreneurship by the ecosystem by telling their stories on digital media and creating communities of sorts. How have you managed to use tech for good over the last 13 years?
Thanks, Mridu. I firmly believe that platforms like mine and the enablement which is happening of entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs is today happening purely because of tech and because of digital. Because there has been such a if I may say, intermediation of media itself, disintermediation of communication, that today you can reach the audience at the lowest possible cost, which was not possible even 10 years back or 12, 13 years back at such a scale which is happening today. More often than not, social entrepreneurship, I believe any entrepreneurship or anyone who is looking at creating impact needs a voice, needs a forum where you are able to reach large set of people. And just to give you an example, Mridu, 1.5 weeks back, in fact, I told the story of this guy Partho from Bhubaneswar, who's built a device where without taking injection you can read hemoglobin, bilirubin, creatinine. And after we told his story, it reached 3,000 people have reached out to him. Some of the largest organizations in the country, to some of the largest organizations in the world, and he has got orders. As of last I knew, order booking of 4,000 devices for him. Now, that kind of impact where you just tell a story, it reaches who's who in the country. Where else? How else does it happen then through technology? And I'm a firm believer that for social entrepreneurship to get the legitimacy, to get that scale, to get that outcome that they're looking at, they need to be telling the best stories. Because, and I think in India, that's a journey we have to make, because some of the most amazing, innovative, hardworking, sincere entrepreneurs somehow don't tell their stories, because we were never taught as a country, as people, to tell and talk about ourselves. And I think that sociological element needs to change a bit, along with technology and digital, which is giving access. I think we are heading for a good time, and moreover, equalizing, आज level playing field है, जो पहले नहीं था, and that's because of tech and digital.
Absolutely. And that's a fantastic example you gave there of an entrepreneur from Bhubaneswar getting that sort of reach thanks to your platform. And that's the power of technology that we're talking about here today. Rahul, one of the game-changing technologies of our times is, of course, artificial intelligence. And we're still at very nascent stages. We are still perhaps at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to exploring the potential of AI. Give us a sense of how AI can really revolutionize critical sectors like healthcare, education, financial services, etc. In the coming decade, as we are calling it. Can you reimagine some scenarios for us? How is AI going to drive inclusivity at the bottom of the pyramid?
Sure thing. Thanks, Madhu. I'll give you two examples of what we are doing at the Wadhwani Institute for AI. As a non-profit AI for Social Good Institute, we're working across health and agriculture. In healthcare, for example, we're helping our frontline workers like ASHA workers and Anganwadi workers identify low birth weight babies with just their cell phone. Based on a short video, we can estimate a baby's weight, and from that identify low birth weight babies, roughly 50% of whom are otherwise missed by the system and are therefore, and if found, are very easy to help, right? And this is all digitally timestamped, geolocated, and so on, allowing transparency through the system. We are building solutions for cotton farmers to identify pink bollworm attacks that wipe out huge swaths of cotton crop. And we've been able to show that our solution actually, recent results suggest that our solution actually leads to increase in profit for farmers, both by increasing yield and by reducing cost of pesticides. If I were to abstract this out, AI has the ability to truly augment human capability, bring an ASHA worker closer to a doctor, scale the number of agricultural scientists we have, and similarly help other sectors like education, financial inclusion, and so on. where we, as a country, we lack adequate number of skilled providers.
Right, and scale is what I wanted to come to next. We've spoken a lot about the potential impact of tech for good. Let's also talk about scaling up some of these social innovation models that innovators, incredible innovators of our country are building. Rebecca, you took TechSoup from a local initiative in the Bay Area to becoming a global nonprofit social enterprise. Share with us some key learnings of scaling up technology for social good to that level. And also in the Indian context, what are some of the challenges that you face, in helping organizations scale up, social sector organizations scale up here?
Well, I'll say maybe just as one more bit of background that TechSoup was started as a grassroots nonprofit on a grant of $2,500. And it's when you think of it that way, it's kind of amazing the reach we have. We've distributed more than $15 billion to date. But the point is that we don't do anything alone. In our case, our secret to scaling is it's all about working with lots of other people. And I think that's important because technology itself, as I think you've heard in many of the remarks made already today, really the people part of technology is the part that there's a lot of room to help with, and that's kind of at the heart of all the work and services that people in the social sector really focus on. I'll say that there are it's a really diverse sector for lots of good reasons, and grassroots is critical, and there are really few purpose-built apps. There are some, but there are few, and for some of the reasons that were already pointed out, they don't necessarily completely suit the situations in nonprofits, and nonprofits have few places to get the resources and connect to experts, and the tech experts and companies who want to help them don't always really understand the unique domain knowledge, in a sense, of the grantees or the organizations they might want to work with. And we frequently hear, many places I go, that a common issue with NGOs and civil society organizations is that they're really eager to partner with government efforts because they see the gaps in terms of serving their populations, but sometimes they struggle to gain trust there, and so they want to be a little bit more visible in that sense. So tech is needed, access to tech, but also capacity building. And we try to close that gap between where the commercial tech company ends and where the reality is, so to speak, on the ground for the grassroots organizations. In terms of our field building that we've done in the last 20 years, really, we have, built this amazing network of partnerships like NASCOM Foundation, people that are independent organizations, but share common mission and values and really focus on this kind of digital capacity building as an important enabling factor. And I mentioned already, we have all these corporate relationships and foundation relationships and other givers. And we focus on also, besides nonprofits and the various forms that they take around the world, libraries and individuals and others as well are invited into this community. And we scale that all on a tech-enabled platform. We also have a shared sustainability model behind it. So it's a combination of fee for service that's affordable because it's done on a mass scale. Sometimes it's affordable because the corporations are 100% donating technology and we're charging a small fee for the individual organizations to access what they want and need. And sometimes it's purely grant funded from lots of different sources. And we try to help the smallest organizations in that way, often with grant-based programs. We in this network, it's interesting because we get the opportunity to be truly local, but also global, and kind of combine those things in a good way. And we are working in 39 languages in 236 countries at present. And we try to give them a set of resources that includes the connection to the community and educational resources, as well as many services and technology products themselves.
Right.
I just add maybe one closing comment to say that, I think what's amazing about doing this is that the relationships really open up a lot of innovation capacity, because we're even during the pandemic, it was quite a resilient network. We were able to operate digitally because we were set up to operate digitally, although lot of our work is face-to-face and events and bringing people together. But I think that, you know, our marketplace as it is just a great place for people to go to and turn to when they have those challenges, and they know some of those kind of resources will be available to them. But in stronger times, it's also a good place to, a lot of people will say, you know, well, the first thing I did was look at TechSoup to see kind of what resources were available to me. And it's a place to get started and to really make connections.
Right, absolutely. And like you rightly said, collaboration is definitely crucial to scaling up. At this point, I also want to remind our viewers, no matter what platform you might be watching us on right now, we are here to take questions from you as well. So we have a very eminent panel of experts here. Please feel free to use the comments section on your platform and type in your question, and our team will pick up the best of those towards the end of the conversation. Let me also come to Sudhir now. Sudhir, as far as, you know, India Inc. is concerned, as far as a corporate is concerned, what are the key pillars for aligning Tech for Good initiatives with business goals of the organization? How can organizations really ensure that their social change strategies are aligned with business goals and are also keeping in mind some larger social good goals like, say, the UN Sustainable Development Goals?
Thank you, Mridu. So I think sort of for clarity purposes, there is definitely for sure a very, very strong growing interest in the investor community, whether it's individual investors or professional investors. And traditionally in the past, it was always about sort of increasing shareholder value. And what we have seen in the recent years is there's definitely a very, very strong growing interest in the community on not just shareholder value, but also companies that are increasing societal value as well. And the way it's sort of manifesting is, there's three different models broadly, and in a company might choose which one of them that makes sense for them. So you kind of have impact investing, which is focused on very specific projects from a company to sort of make that happen. You kind of have another model called SRI, socially responsible investment. And then you also have ESG, which is focused on environmental, social, and governance. And a sort of case in point, with CGI, we've sort of adopted the ESG sort of criteria and partnering with the Dow Jones sort of sustainably sort of index to sort of measure ourselves, not just as a company that's delivering shareholder value for our members and also for our shareholders, but also how are we making a difference in the society, right? And it sort of brings about transparency, it brings about strong governance, not only to our financial, sort of responsibilities, but also on our societal responsibilities as well. So it's absolute criteria, well-established parameters in the ESG checklist itself that helps us in terms of aligning to it. And if you think that this is something that's very nascent and it's sort of not there, just in US alone, Mridu, in a survey done in 2018, this represents $12 trillion worth of assets under management. So it's a pretty huge thing, not to be taken lightly. And that'll sort of viral effect into companies being peer pressured into sort of following into this. So I think it's really important for companies to figure out what makes sense, whether it's impact investing or SRI, ESG. And in CGI, we sort of adopted ESG because it helps us not only tie our social initiatives, but also governance that goes with it to sort of fall in line. And speaking of governance and some of the things that really help corporates, at least for us, there's no right or wrong answer. What we do might be very different for other companies, Mridu. What we sort of have is at the central, at the corporate level, a sort of a broader, sort of strategy and thought process around this ESG, sort of framework. But then the empowerment and accountability is up to the local chapters, as in case when George referred to APAC, we sort of pick our own initiatives to sort of bring technology for good, and in turn bring those sort of vision on the ESG back to life, right? So we have local initiatives through the CSR promoting STEM or women empowerment and technology and so on. We also partner with a lot of the incubation firms like NARJ and AFI, and to sort of promote social entrepreneurs. And we also are looking at working with Niti Aayog and others in terms of what are some technology projects that we can take up and enable using our graduates as a training program itself. So the implementations can be very different, but I think the common denominator that many corporates are aligned to is through one of those three models that I talked about, Madhu.
Right. Okay. Let me also come to the impact technology of choice, and that seems to be mobile apps. In fact, according to the NASCOM Foundation report that we just saw the launch of a little while back, Rahul, coming to you now. Mobile apps, according to the report, seem to be the impact technology of choice for most social startups. Of course, apps are low cost, low on bandwidth. They have a reach like no other device. Do you expect the trend to continue in this decade? What will 5G rollout mean for tech for good? How do you see that whole roadmap shaping up?
Yeah. Yes, I certainly do see mobile apps continuing to be very dominant, simply because of proliferation of phones, right? And that's going to be, again, that's going to remain a dominant platform. With 5G rolling out, one more thing that will happen is greater proliferation of IoT devices, so internet connected devices that can act as, for example, soil moisture sensors and so on, weather sensors. Much more decentralized sensing can happen. But the last thing I'd say is mobile apps, not technology dissemination, not just on custom built mobile apps, but also on mobile app platforms, where each of these novel technologies can become features, and on platforms that are provided to various sectors. And we heard Mr. Kant talk about India Stack and so on.
Right. Okay. So, talking off platforms, let me talk about social media just a little bit. Shraddha, you have a massive following on social media, your personal handles as well as your stories, official handles, of course. How have you leveraged the power of social media for the larger good of the entrepreneurship ecosystem over the last couple of years? And going forward, do you think social media will play a crucial role in promoting social good?
Mridu, that's a very good question because there's such a debate around the world around, with social media, because social media is a double, I would say, a very strong double-edged sword. And what we are seeing today, that social media is being used for a lot, spreading a lot of negativity, for a lot of vitriolic, targeted content, and creating a kind of polarity. But I would say for people like me and a lot of people, it's like a mission, right? Like, even if nobody wants to hear you, because nobody wants to hear good, nobody wants to hear good, nobody wants to have positive, consume positive content. We all know it's so boring, it's like done and dusted. But I've just stayed put. हम भी जिद्दी हैं, 13 साल से खड़े हैं, and we're doing this. And for me, what has been very interesting is that slowly but surely people recognize, because at the soul, because tech for good, I would say intention is, it leads to everything, intention towards technology, intention towards impact, and staying put. For me, social media has been a wonder somewhere, rather than getting taught and trying to change my voice because the world would want it in a certain way. You keep giving like chawal dal, the same good content, even if people find it boring and too much, you give it and the world comes around. It's like, moral science, nobody wants to attend that, but it's so important that you keep putting that every day. And then you've done that, and yeah, there is a huge, massive reach, and today we are able to tell the stories. For us, social media, that reach matters. That every story of a person who does not have money, who cannot articulate, who cannot tell their story in the best fashion, and most of the social entrepreneurs cannot. How do you bring that story to the world and give them an outcome? And I think social media is fantastic and wonderful, and we have leveraged it very, very effectively. And through your channel, I would like to say that, next time when people have the natural tendency of being negative, just think, how can you use social media to really make a difference in someone's life? And we all saw during pandemic, right, where we couldn't meet during lockdown, where we couldn't do anything, social media played a very crucial role in information dissemination. So yeah, I am a very, very firm believer of social media. And again, equality, because you don't need money, you don't need 100 things, you just need a Twitter account, a Facebook account, a LinkedIn, kuch bhi, and you can reach a vast majority of people.
Absolutely, and more power to you to keep serving that dal chawal on a daily basis. And hopefully, everyone is going to come around and start savoring it. Let me also focus a little bit on the roadmap for the future, the big challenges, the opportunities in building social innovation models in India. Rebecca, can you share some best practices? Maybe 2 or 3 top best practices that you think India can really pick up. And one big challenge in the Indian context that needs immediate addressing for tech for good to really take off in the coming years.
Well, I focused my thoughts here really on the question of can tech disruption lead to sustainability and enable it, and I think that it definitely can. But my thought would be that achieving sustainability with social justice cannot be done without the engagement of civil society organizations. It requires partnerships across many different sectors, but I want to focus, of course, on civil society organizations because that's the area of our focus. These are the orgs, as I've said, that are the last mile connections, who have the firsthand knowledge of the needs and the personal stakes and intended outcomes. And you have a lot of these lofty conversations about the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the ESG type frameworks and some of the things that were mentioned. They're all really important for making change in the world, but it has to come down to the local level. So I wanted to share, by way of best practice, an example of an organization, Makaya, a Colombian civil society organization who is also part of the TechSoup Global Network. And just something that they saw an opportunity for. They realized that they could have some multi-stakeholder impact from a regulatory change that was making TV white space technology available for internet access. And it was not only a good idea, but the way they approached it is interesting. I think that makes it an interesting innovation example. And I think this would be applicable potentially to many CSOs in India and similar environments as a best practice. They chose their community. They focused, in this case, on farming communities in historical conflict zones who did not have internet access, of course. And they brought together local government and a few corporations and engaged other CSOs to train young people who were a little bit more digitally oriented on digital tools for advanced fleet management, market information, and soil, water, and air monitoring tools. And they did that without leaving behind the farmers themselves who had been there for years. They did similar kind of models to bring internet access and training to rural schools, and in another project helped citizens learn how to use coffee cup-sized air sensors to really collect air quality data and influence local government decision makers with some data. I think these projects and their work just demonstrate that as a relatively small organization, you can have a lot of impact if you can build trusted relationships and bring people into a two-way sharing of information and resources rather to the community, but also an exchange back from the community of knowledge and experience that is helpful for local participation and results. And I think that's mostly what I would share in the best practices area. I think that helping people have more visibility. Communities can also help people have collect data in a way that now makes it then into, say, Google Maps or a tool. There are a lot of ways that they can participate in things that connect to other efforts. And so those are the kind of small ideas that can add up to big impact.
Right, absolutely. All right, time to pick up some audience questions here, and there are a number of them flowing in. We have a very participative audience. Let me pick up the first question for Sudhir. Mr. Matakal earlier mentioned a lot of work being done on zero carbon footprint. What can corporates do in their daily life to really move towards this? At CGI, what are you doing, Sudhir?
Thanks, Mridhu. So I think first thing is sort of a commitment towards that cause. Mridhu, I think that's really, really important. And I did sort of allude to further sort of the ESG or sort of framework. So clearly it starts with a commitment, and it's also something that the company itself sort of undertakes and sort of lives by it, breathes by it, and then sort of encourages and motivates the employees or the members to be part of it. But we're also seeing a lot more of this coming through our clients as well. So many of our client contracts, in fact, ask for, do you have the certification that sort of ensures that you're in sort of a carbon zero or net zero sort of a mindset, sort of a vendor and a partner, right? So clearly we are seeing our clients are also looking for partners and vendors who do care about the environment, who do care about that, and so on. But specifically coming down to the behavior and the mindsets, it starts for sure with the commitment and the actions that sort of back the commitment up. And at CGI, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the companies, it could be in the context of fundamentally, once you have that commitment, then what are the initiatives at the corporate or at the local level that you sort of to take it up. So in our case in India, we're looking at sort of planting trees, and not just do it, is there a better way of doing it better? So for example, we picked up the Miyawaki sort of way of planting trees, so it is less strainful from a sustainability perspective, right? We're also working with Sahas in terms of a sort of carbon offsetting in sort of funding, methane plants and so on that sort of offset the carbon footprint. But also we have to eat our own dog food, for lack of a better phrase, to where we have to consume electricity less, avoid transport or reduce cab services and so on. So these are some of the initiatives we are looking into to move from your traditional, sort of engines into electric. How do we sort of pivot that into the next, 3 to 5 years? Those are some of the initiatives that we have, and it's not just something that's on a PowerPoint. I have to report that back into the corporate, and this really needs to be strong governance. And we also share that back with our members in absolute transparency, saying, hey, this is what went well, this is what didn't go well, and we'll sort of pick it up. So it starts with commitment, a good plan, a strong governance, Mridu, and also daily habits. It's not just companies, we as individuals, every day we turn on the taps, just be cognizant of that, to sort of use a little less every day. And there's a really powerful theory called theory of marginal gains, which is 1% habit, 1% change every day is enough to sort of make a big substantial change. And hopefully we can sort of drive that into our mind and actions, in CGI and elsewhere.
Absolutely. Every drop of the ocean counts. That's very well put, Sudhir. Let me also bring up the next question. This one is for Rahul. How to get people at the bottom of the pyramid accustomed to the new intervening technologies? What are the ways and means to do that? Do you find reluctance on part of, the beneficiaries at the bottom of the pyramid?
Yeah. Broadly, I'd say people at the bottom of the pyramid are very savvy, right? And there's a lot of usage of technology already, right? People use e-commerce, buy things online, chat applications, financial transactions, all of these happen. So I think the key thing is to think of technologies we develop as not for the BOP, but with the BOP. The idea is co-design, right? You have to involve your target beneficiaries, your end users and stakeholders in the design process. And that's how you get buy-in. And ultimately, whatever you're developing, fundamentally make it useful, make it easy to use, and make it empowering. And adoption happens. Needs a lot of work, but that's the way to sustain things.
Right. Rebecca, do you want to weigh in on that as well? Because this next question is also related to the previous one. How can we make people who are very new to tech accept a new normal? Can you talk about a few best practices? Also, there is another question where somebody is asking if there are options to keep persons with intellectual disabilities engaged. Would you like to comment on any of these?
Yes, I'll say, kind of briefly in the interest of time, I think it's very much the response that Rahul gave in a way, which is just to say, I think people need to understand why they should care about the technology, because it's really not about the technology itself. Rather, it's something that would make something that they need to do or want to do easier to do, or information easier to find, right? And so I think it's just about connecting it, talking to people about what it is, in that sense, co-designing the use of tech, if I could say it that way, that will, open their ideas about it. And I think that sometimes can get shortchanged because people who really know what they want to do just are ready to dive right in. The other question about accessibility and other kinds of technologies, a very extremely important one. I think that's wonderful that that got brought up. There's, again, a lot of advanced technology that can be amazing there. But it is hard, even for us in the work that we do, to get enough of that available. And I would just sort of call that another purpose-built type of solution. Of course, it has applicability across all sectors, but it's something that I think we need to do more to promote and really make it available for people, so there is truly inclusion and they're not left behind.
Right. Sudhir, can I ask you to weigh in as well, especially on the intellectual disability bit? What can be done for people who have intellectual disabilities? What are the options there? Request you to unmute yourself.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to add on to what Rebecca said, Mridu, is while I think we can, there's definitely lots of tools, a lot of options from a technology perspective. When we worked specifically with a school for the disabled, what we realized is, for what purpose are we trying to solve this, right? And when we realized that it was about, can we figure out something that will give them some sort of a job assurance, some sort of a work that will help them be independent, and it sort of then has a snowball effect in terms of more people wanting to join that cause. So it's technology, the right tools and aids to help them, as Shraddha put it, not just equality but equity close, sort of close the gap, but also within purpose, which is in terms of securing jobs. So we partnered with an agency that not only trains them on technology, but also helps them secure a job as a data operator and so on. So it's about that financial stability. It's about that confidence, that self-esteem that's really important to sort of drive. And we should keep that purpose always in mind.
All right. Okay, so let me also come back to, our crystal ball gazing that we were doing for the future, for this decade, as we are calling it. And Shraddha, you're someone who's interacting with social entrepreneurs day in and day out. Give us a sense of, in the post-COVID-19 world, or the new normal, or the next normal, as I like to call it, how can entrepreneurs really accelerate some of the innovations that they're working on and really use technology as a catalyst for, positive change? Unmute, please.
Even we get it wrong. Sorry, Mridu. People are doing it, and we'll see a lot more happening. In fact, I want to say that this year, one of the biggest, we are primarily an agrarian economy still, and there's so many farmers. I'm telling you, this year we are going to see a lot of agriculture-related innovation. And it's impact, because it's about food. It's about a country where we need a lot of food and we need to export. And we will see innovators and young innovators. I'm telling you, the way they are solving problems for farmers. We are going to see, you're talking about disability. We have such innovation happening in that field. Young startups are doing here. In pandemic, in our country, we spoke to 45 innovators who have created such first-time innovation in the pandemic, during the pandemic, chahe wo ventilator ke liye ho, assisted technology ho, to carry the samples in cold storage, such kind of frugal innovation we saw happening through technology. So I'm saying, we are very, very excited, because India is going to see a lot of young people now think about creating scale with positive impact. And if you talk to millennials, you talk to young people, young startups, they're all thinking about it. So I think the future is going to be very, very solid, strong, and innovation-led in our country.
Right. Well, the pandemic has indeed been one accelerator of adopting and really, transforming using digital technologies. But as we close this conversation, I want to give 30 seconds to each one of you to think about, the one key driver that you think is going to accelerate technology innovation and adoption for social good in this next decade. Just about 30 seconds each. Rahul, can I start with you?
Yeah, for me, it's fundamentally the new capabilities that exist in technology, the rapid development in things like AI, as well as wide-scale adoption of availability of connectivity. Those are just natural driving forces to rapidly expand the solution space and the ability to distribute solutions that will lead to rapid growth.
All right, Rebecca, What do you think is going to be the key driver of accelerating technology innovation?
I think connections across sectors and different types of expertise and knowledge brought to various problems.
All right, connection, collaboration. Shraddha, what do you think?
Mridu, one quote I will say, Swami Vivekanand said that if you once your stomach is filled, then you'll be able to fill the stomach of others. India, we are seeing that the stomachs are getting filled, and we will see technology aa jayega. Matlab intention aa gaya, stomach filled hai, you'll use technology for scale, and that is going to drive technology for good.
Right. Intent, always very, very crucial. Sudhir, what about you?
So two things. One is I think there's a lot of information asymmetry in the social sector, Mridu, and I think that's in terms of data availability, access to data, and more importantly, decisions that either government, corporates, or social sectors take upon should be based on intelligent and relevant data, not on outdated data and things. So besides all the things that the panelists talked about, it's going to be super critical that we have the right information and the right data. And along with what Rebecca shared is we can be just our own shellfish NGOs and corporates wanting to push our own agenda. How do we collaborate and work together better so that we're not just incrementally progressing? Can we do a leapfrog in comparison to the United States or UK, which have moved way ahead from a social sector development perspective?
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for those absolutely fascinating insights and this fantastic conversation on using technology for social good. The next few years will undoubtedly be very, very exciting. And of all the revolutions that technology is going to bring about, I think the most significant one is going to be the inclusivity revolution that really bridges the gaps at the bottom of the pyramid. I'd also like to inform our viewers that applications for the Tech for Good Awards 2021 are now open. These are for companies, for social enterprises, for NGOs. You can see that URL up on your screen now. Please go ahead and apply for these Tech for Good Awards of 2021. That's a wrap for now. Many thanks also to our participative audience, and apologies for not being able to take all of your questions for paucity of time. Also, a special thanks to our sign language interpreter today, Anand Seva from Signable, who made this event truly inclusive. Thank you very much, Anand. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Goodbye.
NASSCOM Foundation, Tech for Good, powered by CGI.